Hi, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. Let me tell you about a project we're working on. The part that the United Kingdom played in the history of the world is undeniable, but the part that Greater Manchester has played in that history is kind of forgotten. I'm trying to compile a list of people and things that happened on each day of the year that had some connection to Greater Manchester. It's our second week in. Now, unfortunately, I didn't start on January 1st, but it comes around. There's one on the other end. So this is the third week of February. The week starts the day after Valentine's Day in Hitler's Nazi Germany. February 15th, 1936 Winter Olympic Games in pre-war Germany. The British national ice hockey team claim a historic gold medal, becoming the first team to win an Olympic, World, and European championship in the same year. The tournament itself was closely contested, with Britain's shock victory over Canada in the semi-finals. In the final round, Britain beat Czechoslovakia and had a scoreless tie with the US, ensuring them a silver or gold, which they claimed when Canada lost 1-0 to the US, the end of Canada's fourth consecutive Olympic gold in ice hockey. Being composed largely of Canadian players, the British team was almost excluded from the games. One of the few British-born players was Jimmy Borland of Manchester, the first and probably last Olympic gold for Manchester in ice hockey. Another notable first and last was Rudi Ball, the only Jew to represent Germany at the 1936 Olympics. So I tease when I say it's probably Manchester's last Olympic gold in ice hockey. The kids were playing hockey at Scouts the other night, and I said to one of the other leaders, watching you guys play hockey is a little like watching Canadians play soccer. But hey, we made it to the World Cup, and I hear we scored a goal this year. Now, these clips may look a little odd. It's because they're shot vertically, and I've pasted it over another cropped version to fill the screen. In their vertical form, they're known as shorts on YouTube. It's probably not the best time of year to show you Nanook. It's February 16th. But there's a reason we're here today. It's Robert Joseph Flaherty's birthday. He was an American filmmaker who produced and directed the first commercially successful feature-length documentary film, Nanook of the North. All right, that one was a bit of a stretch. But we did a regular video on that day about Nanook of the North. Now, Flaherty had no connection to Greater Manchester that I know of, but I noticed this place in Wythenshawe Park called Nanook when I was working on the video about the oldest bridge in Sale. Anyway, you'll have to watch the full video to see what I mean. I'll put a link in the description. We'll have to come back to that one with a proper This Day in the History of Greater Manchester. February 17th, 1932, James Chadwick's discovery of the neutron was published. In 1935, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. As a child, he was offered a scholarship to Manchester Grammar School, but his family couldn't afford the fees. Instead, he attended the Central Grammar School for Boys in Manchester. The University of Manchester was a hub for pioneering research in nuclear physics. By 1908, he was a student of Ernest Rutherford. He intended to study mathematics, but enrolled in physics by accident. Rutherford and his team became the first in history to initiate an artificial nuclear reaction. Chadwick's discovery of the neutron was significant as it helped to explain the properties of the atomic nucleus and led to the development of nuclear power and weapons. During World War II, Chadwick played a key role in the development of the atomic bomb as part of the Manhattan Project. That day in Greater Manchester history almost didn't get done. We'd just come back from Lancaster and I was beat. What's the word you guys use? Knackered. I shot this one in bed. Wikipedia says James Chadwick was born in Bollington, and Encyclopedia Britannica says he was born in Manchester. I think Wikipedia wins this one. But regardless, they agree on the rest, and either way, he played an important part in Greater Manchester history. February 18th, 1981, Margaret Thatcher reverses course on her plan to close 23 coal mines, marking her first major U-turn since taking power. Joseph Gormley of Greater Manchester, who has served as the president of the National Union of Mine Workers from 71 to 82, played a prominent role in the events. A former miner himself, Gormley Gormley had risen through the ranks of the union to become a leading trade union official. During his tenure as president, he oversaw a national strike in 1972 and a threatened strike in 1981. Although some miners continued to strike unofficially, militant leaders called off the strikes on February 20th. Gormley resigned in April 1982 to be replaced by Arthur Scargill, who would later lead the miners in a year-long strike starting in 1984. Another one that almost didn't get done was the 18th of February, simply because I couldn't find one. Most of these I write and shoot on the day. I'm not that far ahead of you on these. And that's part of the purpose of today's video. I need you to help me out. Leave a comment if you can think of any that we can add to our list. Any person or event that we can link to the history of Greater Manchester. If I can get to 100, now remember I need at least 366, and there's actually a couple of good ones for the 29th of February. But you'll have to wait till next year for that one. There's no leap year this year. If I can get to 100 suggestions from you guys, I'll pick a name out of the hat and send someone out one of our Manchester Bee mugs. Although I gotta say, Chris Ward is leading the pack on this one. I think he's sent in over a dozen good suggestions so far. You don't have to send a date or anything, just a name or event. 19th of February 1910, Manchester United's first match at Old Trafford, resulting in a 4-3 loss to Liverpool. Old Trafford, the Red Devils' home stadium, has grown over the years, and it's now the second largest stadium in Britain and the 9th largest in Europe. The stadium was designed by Archibald Leitch and was described by one journalist as the most remarkable arena they had ever seen. During World War II, Old Trafford was bombed, causing it to close until 1949, during which time Manchester United paid rent to Manchester City for the use of Main Road. The North Stand was opened ahead of the 1966 World Cup and was the first stand to house private boxes in a UK football stadium. The Stretford End was the last to be covered and was converted from a terrace to an all-seater in the 1990s. The nickname Theatre of Dreams was coined by Sir Bobby Charlton during Alex Ferguson's reign as manager in 1987. You could fill up every day of the year with multiple football events from the history of Greater Manchester, but let's try to keep it to notable events like that one. Now, these guys weren't part of my repertoire. I was more influenced by the people who influenced them, but I have made a mosaic of this guy. Quite an interesting face. 20th of February 1963, it's Ian Brown's birthday, lead singer of the alternative rock band The Stone Roses from 1983 until their split in 1996. Brown was born in Warrington and grew up in Timperley. He attended Altrincham Grammar School for Boys. He was inspired by the punk movement, particularly the Sex Pistols and the Clash. He went on to pursue a solo career, producing several albums and singles. Brown has performed in solo shows in 45 countries. He rejoined the Stone Roses in 2011 and continues to produce solo work. In the movie Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Brown appears as a wizard in the Leaky Cauldron. He uses his magic to mix his beverage while he reads A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Happy birthday, Ian. Now, our last event of the week is one of the most controversial subjects out there, but it is part of the story of Manchester. It's only a matter of where you stand on it. It's either something you're proud of or wish never happened. 21st of February 1848, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels published the Communist Manifesto. Marx and Engels co-authored much of the Communist Manifesto at Chetham's Library in Manchester. Engels' family owned a factory in Manchester. Ironically, it helped raise the capital to fund Marx's work. It also gave him first-hand experience in the exploitation and harsh conditions that the workers faced. The Communist Manifesto was a call to action for workers to unite and overthrow the capitalist system and the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. They believed the only way to create a fair society was to eliminate the private ownership of the means of production and distribute wealth and power more equitably. The ideas presented in the manifesto had a significant impact on political and social movements worldwide. Manchester remains an important site in the history of socialist and communist thought. There you have it, the third week of February. Don't forget to leave a comment with people and things that happened this day in Greater Manchester history.